Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, RTV.network.
Good morning and welcome to the Triple B Reports Brooklyn Business Beat. I'm Randy Pierce, President and CEO of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. It's great to have you with us. I've got two wonderful guests today, Gaia DiLoretto, who runs the Brooklyn Made stores here at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and Mayo, who is our Chief Workforce Development Manager, and she also produced our first ever Brooklyn Economic Snapshot. But before we go and speak to our guests, I want to tell you a little bit about the Brooklyn Chamber, what we've been up to, and just a little bit more about the Brooklyn economy. So for those of you who are not familiar with Brooklyn, we are one of the 5 boroughs here in New York City. We are the largest borough by population with almost 2.8 million people, and we have over 62,000 businesses that are represented here in the borough. Now, we are a small business economy. 84% of those 62,000 businesses have less than 10 employees. But I also want to say we have a long history of facilitating commerce, and we were once the manufacturing hub for the city of New York. Through World War II, when we were producing battleships at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, we were actually the 4th largest manufacturing center in the United States. But our economy has shifted over the decades, and now we are the heart of the creative economy here in New York City. And you know, COVID was a particular challenge for New York City. It's a challenge that has not impacted the city equally. If you think about Manhattan, our sister borough, I will say, across the river, they have had struggles getting office workers to come back to office buildings. Of course, Manhattan and New York City is the center of finance, but Brooklyn's economy is vastly different. And if you think about it, we've happened to lead the way in terms of New York City's economic recovery, in part because Brooklyn was not reliant on office workers coming back to office buildings. And in fact, if you were working from home, as many people do nowadays, post-COVID, you're more likely to shop locally. And in the case of Brooklyn, largest residential borough, we've got a lot of people who shop locally in their communities, in their neighborhoods, in their commercial corridors. There are 51 distinct neighborhoods in Brooklyn. They all have a unique character and flavor, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But to lead us off in today's discussion, I want to bring in Mayo, who is our Workforce Development Manager, and she has produced an amazing publication, the Brooklyn Economic Snapshot, which can be found on our website, brooklynchamber.com. You can download it. It's a free publication. But it's anything and everything as it relates to Brooklyn's economy, its labor market, its real estate trends, and more. So May, thanks for joining us. And tell us a little bit about the Brooklyn Economic Snapshot, starting with kind of the origins for the publication itself.
Absolutely. So this quarter 2024 report was the first publication, the first launch of this economic snapshot. It's going to be published on a quarterly basis. It's business-facing, covering the multiple topics: employment, ranging from employment to real estate, and economic indicators for the borough, and the origins. So this report fills a gap that in terms of economic overviews, that publications that are out there for the borough, county level specific data. There are, of course, reports, annual reports of past data, but there isn't anything that's of timely, regular publication covering the quarter prior that just happened and covering multiple indicators in one place. And so this is really unique in offering businesses just an overview of how we're doing.
Well, businesses and anybody else that's looking to do some research on Brooklyn. And when you say fill the gaps, I mean, one of the big gaps is the fact that there's a lot of New York City specific data. So that's aggregated across the 5 boroughs. But when we try and get down to the borough specific level, it's much harder to uncover. Right. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So county level data is very hard to find out there for Brooklyn.
For Brooklyn. So let's start off with just Brooklyn by the numbers, right? So just so our audience gets a sense of who Brooklyn is today. And for some of them, they might know Brooklyn, but they may know Brooklyn from 10 years ago or 20 years ago, or maybe they grew up here and then they left Brooklyn. So give us a quick update on just Brooklyn by the numbers as it exists today.
Yeah, so we have a section at the end of the report. We'll be covering just at least a static section for the year on median age, average median household income, and we also have a number there as percentage of the population born outside the U.S. These are interesting features of the local population. First of all, we have a high degree of bachelor's degree attainment. We also have a significant, over a third of the Brooklyn population is born outside of the U.S. And we have higher than the national average of in terms of the median household income at $73,951. So those are just.
So we're a young borough.
Yes, we are also a young borough. At our median age is 36 here.
So that is young, especially by my standards. That's really young for a median age. And in terms of, we're not the largest borough geographically, right? We're only 70 square miles, give or take, right? But in terms of the population, we are by far the most populous of the boroughs, right? Yeah.
In the outer boroughs, I think it is one of the. I wonder if Queens might actually.
No, Queens is not. It's
okay.
us. It's us.
Okay.
Queens is quickly catching up.
Right.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the economy and the business activity and the labor market through Q1 here, 2024. What have we discovered or uncovered? Just give us the top highlights.
I will just walk through from beginning to end some of the sections that we covered. So top highlights from the business activity section at the very top. It's going over business formation. And so Randy mentioned in the beginning that New York City is a small business economy. That is even more so true of Brooklyn, where when we're talking about the concentration of small businesses composing of fewer than 5 employees, over a quarter of those businesses are based in Brooklyn. And that's an interesting feature, once again, of the Brooklyn economy, as well as something that if you look at number of businesses formed over the past 4 years, the highest percentage change in increase is concentrated in North and Central Brooklyn.
North and Central Brooklyn. On that note, let's hold for a minute. We'll come right back after this break.
For 10 years, the Survey of Household Economics and Decision-Making has tracked the economic well-being and financial conditions reported by U.S. adults and their families. The survey collects data on how people feel about their family's finances to help understand the effects of broader economic trends over time. Conducted in October 2022, the latest survey reveals that 73% of adults were doing at least okay financially, meaning they reported either doing okay or living comfortably. The share of adults doing at least okay financially in 2022 was down 5 percentage points from 2021 and was among the lowest observed since 2016. This decline in well-being aligns with broader economic conditions during fall 2022, including inflation and stock market declines. In economically challenging times, relatively small, unexpected expenses such as a car repair or a modest medical bill can be a hardship for many families. When faced with a hypothetical expense of $400, 63% of all adults in 2022 said they would have covered it exclusively using cash, savings, or a credit card paid off at the next statement, referred to altogether as cash or its equivalent. The share who would pay using cash or its equivalent was down 5 percentage points from 2021 and back at its 2019 level. Consistent with widespread experience of higher prices in the prior year, most adults said that price increases had affected their family budget. Adults with incomes under $100,000 were more likely to say their family budget was affected a lot by rising prices, compared to adults with higher incomes. Black and Hispanic adults, parents living with children under 18, and those with a disability were also more likely to indicate that their budget had been affected a lot by higher prices. Most people took action in response to higher prices, especially through changing spending. The most common adjustments were using less or stopping using products, as well as switching to cheaper alternatives. Just above 1/2 of respondents reduced savings. Increasing borrowing, working more, and asking for a raise were less common strategies. These survey findings provide insight into the wide range of financial opportunities and challenges facing U.S. families at the time of the survey. More information is available in the report on the economic well-being of U.S. households in 2022. To view or download this year's full report and downloadable survey data, visit federalreserve.gov/consumerscommunities/shed.
Having an issue with your bank?
What?
Did your credit card company close your account without warning? Did an online merchant refuse to send your purchase after they took your money? Know your rights as a consumer. Here's what you can do to file a complaint. As soon as you are aware of a problem, contact the customer service staff at your financial institution or merchant to make them aware of the issue. This is typically the fastest way to resolve your complaint. If that doesn't resolve the problem, you should reach out to the appropriate regulatory agency to file a complaint. The Federal Reserve Consumer Help Center experts and website can answer your questions about how to file a complaint against a bank or other institution. The FRCH website can also help you find the regulator for your financial institution. Depending on the type of institution you have a complaint against, the agency will differ. For complaints about federally insured state-chartered bank members of the Federal Reserve System, contact federalreserveconsumerhelp.gov. Specialists can direct you to the agency that regulates your institution, such as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Federal Housing Finance Agency. The National Credit Union Administration would get complaints about credit unions. And for complaints about an online merchant, contact the Federal Trade Commission. The list of regulated entities these federal agencies oversee is also available at federalreserve.gov/consumercommunities/agency. For more information about how to file a consumer complaint, please visit the link in this post.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel, our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.
Welcome back to the Triple B Report. Brooklyn Business Beat. I'm Randy Piers, President and CEO of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. I'm having a conversation right now with Mayo, who is our Workforce Development Manager here, but also the author of our inaugural edition of the Brooklyn Economic Snapshot. So we're talking a little bit about business activity. We mentioned Brooklyn is a small business economy. 84% of the businesses here have less than 10 employees. But what does it look like in terms of new business formation?
Yeah, so we have the visual up here now, and you can see the concentration in North and Central Brooklyn is where a lot of the small businesses have been created. But overall, in 2023, what that means is that borough-wide we have over 51,000 business applications, and that resulted in the creation of 3,672 new businesses. And what that ended up being at the end of quarter 4 of 2023, we ended up with a total of 71,976 businesses, private businesses, and that's an uptick.
Okay, so that's 71,000, almost 72,000 businesses that are actually operating in the borough. Okay.
In the private sector, yes.
In the private sector. So, May, and it's interesting that there was so many business applications, but ultimately only a fraction of businesses actually are formed and are operating, right? Is that in part, what are the reasons behind that? Do you have any idea of why that's the case?
I think that there are a lot of resources out there right now incentivizing entrepreneurship, and as we know, this is a hub of small businesses in the borough, but there definitely needs to be further investment in supporting a sustainable business planning and actually operating a business that you may have the idea, but you need to actually implement.
Right, and it starts probably with a good business plan. In some cases, it requires resources and capital that might not necessarily be available. But actually, the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce has a resource to help new entrepreneurs to get off the ground the right way. That's the Brooklyn Business Solutions Center, located at 9 Bond Street in downtown Brooklyn. It's actually a walk-in center, or you can go online, and they will actually help you from start to finish in terms of getting your business formed and up and running. We actually have a great online set of courses called Business Basics, and that really is about educating new entrepreneurs about forming businesses the right way. Not easy always in New York City to form a business. So these are good numbers, though. These are strong numbers. Certainly, these are numbers that are showing a trending increase in terms of entrepreneurship. We've seen that continue out, especially post-COVID, where people have decided, you know what, I want to try my hand at a new business. What does the labor market look like, though? So we always talk about unemployment rates and jobless rates and so forth. What does the labor market look like?
Yes, so right now in Brooklyn, this is as of May of 2024, and the unemployment rate was at 5.2%. This is no change from the prior year, May of 2023. An interesting standout feature of the Brooklyn economy is the dominant industry here is the healthcare industry, which employs 28% of the Brooklyn workforce, and that industry is also driving the growth in job creation.
So healthcare.
Yes, healthcare.
Healthcare still remains the strongest economic sector. Now, folks, this is a huge shift over the last 60 years. And I say 60 years because if you use sort of World War II as the benchmark, manufacturing was the leading industry in Brooklyn, I would say up to the 1960s, actually. But like many heavy industrial towns, there was a shift when heavy manufacturing went overseas, and we lost a lot of that manufacturing base. So now our economy looks very, very different, and our labor market looks very, very different. New York City is still the home of finance. It's still the home of real estate, but Brooklyn itself really has picked up the mantle in terms of healthcare. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what else do we want to highlight in terms of the labor market?
So one other final thing that I'll speak to is wage growth in Brooklyn, and actually New York City overall. Is that if you can see the visual up there, compared to prices, the consumer price index, inflation increase has actually outpaced wage growth in the last quarter. In the last quarter,
yeah. So, and this actually has been confirmed on the business side through the Chamber's annual survey, right? Inflation as the biggest concern of most businesses here in Brooklyn. I would probably say in New York City. And that actually has replaced issues related to public safety. So last year, when we did our year-end business impact survey, it was public safety, but now by far it's inflation. And if you think about inflation, particularly how it impacts a small business, just take a restaurant, for example. The impact is almost twofold. Number one, everything costs more, right? So the ingredients cost more. So the question for the restaurant becomes, do we raise prices in order to compensate for inflationary pressure? But then secondarily, the average consumer has less to spend, right? And look, eating out is a luxury. So they're making hard decisions about whether they're going to actually go out and frequent restaurants. And that means probably less people are going out to eat, prices are increasing, and then it becomes this sort of downward spiral. So we've got a lot of concerns about inflation. How does that impact the labor market overall? What do we think the trends are going to look like? It's still pretty low unemployment, yes?
Yeah, in fact, actually, when you're comparing the unemployment rate borough versus citywide, we are narrowing the gap between the differences in unemployment.
Right, great. What else do we want to talk about in terms of the economy? We want to talk a little bit about real estate, I believe. The post-COVID, the real estate market has shifted. It certainly has shifted in New York City. The commercial real estate market, in particular the office market, has shifted dramatically in places like Manhattan. But Brooklyn's got a very different sort of real estate landscape. Is that correct?
Yes, so that is something that we also get asked about from businesses, from our members. In our report, we divided it to concentrated specific sections focusing on office, retail, and industrial real estate markets. Those are very different trends that affect those industries.
So which is the strongest, which is the weakest, which is trending up, which is trending down?
So in terms of, I'll pull out some highlights from three that we highlighted in the snapshot. But for the office market, leasing activity was the second quarter of 2024 was at 122,000 square feet. And this, while was a 48% decrease in activity from the prior quarter, what actually is behind that is there was an indication that the availability of the office real estate space dropped, which indicates a supply shortage from what could be describing a decrease in leasing activity. And certainly there is a lot of new construction in office space in the borough.
Particularly in downtown.
Yes, if you can see, CBRE pulled out some submarkets of Brooklyn, and downtown Brooklyn has one of the largest office inventory.
So downtown Brooklyn is our central business district, right? I mean, we have one major central business district, and one could argue, and it's actually factual, we're not going to argue this, is that downtown Brooklyn weathered the COVID storm a lot better than the financial district in Midtown and Manhattan, in part because it was already a mixed-use community, right? It was supposed to be the back office mecca. This was sort of after 9/11. We focused on rezoning, and it was supposed to be the back office mecca for Manhattan. It didn't really turn out that way. There was more of an appetite for residential development. There certainly has been some commercial development, but that actually helped insulate downtown Brooklyn much better in terms of the effects of COVID versus Midtown and the financial district. So we've seen a very different sort of landscape in our central business district. Kudos to the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership and the team that sort of does the work on the ground in downtown Brooklyn, but it's really become a tremendous live, work, and play community that we're very, very proud of, and we'd like to highlight as sort of a model for sort of future sort of business district development that is focused on both residential, commercial, as well as retail and office. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the retail market. We're going to talk a little bit about commercial real estate in general. As soon as we come back from our next break, once again, I'm Randy Piers, President of Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and you're watching the Triple B Report, Brooklyn Business Beat. Here.
Metro New York's port services are currently constrained and challenged in facilitating the handling of international cargo. It's time for a whole new ballgame. Just 55 miles north of the city, Stewart Airport, closed during the base realignment, is an underutilized resource that could be maximized and bring growth to the area and relieve New York City. It's an ideal place for a thriving supply chain center of regional excellence, called SCORE. We intend to support the New York and New Jersey Port Authority's commitment to the New York International Plaza, putting it at the forefront of a transformation of regional global trade, telecommunications, and economic growth. A logistics-based regenerative smart city that supplies an interactive platform of data and document interoperability to optimize resources. SCORE will transform this location into a thriving hub that can process and distribute cargo via various methods of transportation, elevating it to one of the world's best intermodal ports. We aim to build a cybersecure network operations center that enables customers to share data in real time across the supply chain and across the whole region, utilizing eco-friendly practices to keep things running efficiently. And it doesn't stop there. Not only will SCORE develop high-speed wireless networks in a data-driven city to improve logistics and facilitate international trade, it will also create critical infrastructure for regional economic development. By optimizing the business environment, attracting startups and investment, supporting the development of high-value industries such as medical, education, technology, and hospitality, creating new employment opportunities for the region. SCORE will inject vibrancy and inspire prosperity in an underutilized area to develop a greener and more livable smart city that thrives, bringing excellence to the Hudson Valley. It's a game changer. Visit IC Logistics to learn how you can support this SCORE Economic Development Initiative at Stewart Airport.
Today we're taking a little vacation on the west end of St. Croix, visiting a seaside restaurant called the Beachside Cafe here at Sandcastles on the Beach.
The atmosphere is just wonderful.
You just feel very welcome when you're here.
Hi! I'd like to introduce Chris and Ted, who are the owners of Beachside Cafe and also Sandcastles on the Beach. This is amazing!
Thank you. Sandcastle on the Beach is quiet and friendly, relaxing.
I often entertain guests, and this is the one place I always try to bring people.
Tell us a little bit about the hotel.
Well, the hotel is a 25-room hotel. We have 10 different room types within that. We also have, of course, our greatest asset, the ocean out there, which our side of the island is very calm typically. So it's the best swimming beach and also great for snorkeling.
And just walking, doing a nice walking beach tour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best beach access is right here, so we love them.
And we're also fortunate we have just up the way Sandy Point National Park, and then Frederickstead Town is just a mile away. Mm-hmm. And so we're really fortunate to be in this perfect spot.
Hello everybody, welcome back for another Healthy Minute. If you want to boost your brain health, make sure you eat more foods that are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, foods such as salmon and sardines. And if you want to increase your protein content, which is also excellent for your body, add some codfish. Codfish, fresh codfish in fact, is low in mercury, high in protein, and has a great number of vitamins and minerals. For this Healthy Minute, I'm Dr. Hafizullah. See you again soon. Thank you for watching. Please remember to click subscribe for the latest videos and updates. See you soon.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.
Welcome back to the Triple B Report, Brooklyn Business Beat. I'm Randy Piers, President and CEO of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. We're having a conversation right now with May O, who is the Workforce Development Manager here. And we're talking about the Brooklyn Economic Snapshot, and we're talking real estate. So, industrial real estate market. Brooklyn has always been known as the industrial heavyweight in New York City. No more, looks like Queens maybe. But tell us what's happening in the industrial real estate market.
Right, so we mentioned in the beginning that the industrial sectors used to be the biggest employers. That's actually now a shrinking workforce. However, when it comes to real estate, there is still a lot of robust activity and demand for industrial space. And there's a lot of new and under construction spaces in Brooklyn and in Queens. In Brooklyn, there's about 800,000 square feet of new space available coming up, and Queens, where they're actually getting to like 2 million there. You know, some things to highlight though is that while asking rent is decreasing, some things to note is that legislation coming up on last mile warehouses, as well as requirements on and rezoning is actually affecting that market very quickly right now.
That's true. I mean, the new sort of inventory in the industrial space really is in response to last mile delivery warehousing opportunities. And, you know, it's a shifting market for sure. In Brooklyn, many of our former heavy industrial spaces have gone through a rezoning process that has led to more residential, right? So if you look at pretty much all of North Brooklyn, places like Williamsburg, some parts of Greenpoint and Bushwick, what had formerly been industrial space is now residential. But the market is still robust, and we still have some new inventory coming online, and asking rents are dropping a little bit. So that's a positive sign as well. All right, let's talk about retail. A lot of those 62,000 businesses in the borough are in the retail sector. What's happening in the retail space, May?
Yeah, so we'll wrap up on the retail section. So asking rent across the commercial retail corridors, studied by Revenue, is about $139 per square foot. That is, it's been a consistent trend of increased asking price ever since COVID. And we have a graphic there, visual, highlighting some of the most expensive commercial corridors versus so North 6th Street in Williamsburg is the most expensive in terms of real estate space, whereas Manhattan Avenue and Greenpoint is more affordable there.
Right, and a lot of these corridors actually represent North Brooklyn. So there is a sort of north-south divide within the borough when it comes to our economy, where North Brooklyn has seen a lot of new growth. We've also seen a lot of conversion in terms of industrial space to residential. So we've seen an influx of sort of newer residents. Where South Brooklyn, places like Coney Island and places like Canarsie, where I'm from, and Marine Park and others, that's been a little bit more static. What are we seeing in terms of the footprints? Do we have a sense of are the retail spaces that are available? Are they smaller, larger, medium size? I mean, we've heard a lot about, for example, CVS's that have closed, which leave kind of big holes in some of the retail corridor space. What are we looking at in terms of retail space size?
Well, what I'll highlight is that there are some interesting initiatives, and kind of, it's not just here's a space and go lease it, but there are some places like a City Pointer, Industry City, that is having more coordinated effort to boost that kind of space.
For smaller.
Yes, for smaller businesses.
For small retailers. Great. Well, that's a great transition. I want to thank May for presenting some of this data. That's a great transition into our next guest, Gaia Di Loretto, who is the Executive Director of the Brooklyn Made Stores, which are operated here through the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, but represent a very interesting model in terms of working with small makers and designers and vendors throughout the borough. Welcome, Gaia. You want to tell us a little bit about your background and, the Brooklyn Made Stores?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me. So I am proud to have been one of the first to actually have a Brooklyn Made store. I have one of our great commercial corridors here in Brooklyn on Smith Street. It ran for 5 years, and the premise was everything in the store was made here in Brooklyn. As I know from personal experience that running brick and mortar is very challenging, and so I had my store for 5 years. Then I proceeded to run several small Brooklyn businesses over the last 8 years, and then had the pleasure of being asked to step in and help with the Brooklyn Made Stores here at the Chamber of Commerce, which is an exciting return for me to be back in this community of makers. Some of them are still here, some of them fortunately are not, but also there's so many new makers. What's different about the Brooklyn Made Store is for the Chamber of Commerce is that our mission is very specific in that we are striving to support and promote makers in communities that are otherwise have been underserved. So I'm very happy to say that over 80% of the makers represented in our stores are minority and or women-owned businesses.
Many of them immigrants, right?
And many of them are immigrants, exactly. As you said, 30% of the Brooklyn population is from 35% of the Brooklyn population is from outside of born outside of this country. Our model is that we put dollars into people's pockets. So as the Brooklyn Made Store, we are a traditional wholesale model. We buy wholesale from our makers and then we sell retail. So to date, we have invested over $400,000 into Brooklyn makers' pockets. The first store opened in May of 2023 here in Industry City, which is in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And we opened our second location in April of 2024 in City Point, downtown Brooklyn, a strong commercial corridor. And with that growth and that expansion, we are able to bring in even more makers. And we also have an e-commerce site. So people from all over the country can get a piece of Brooklyn. I have a bridge to sell you, I really do. So it has been a really exciting opportunity to be back in the Brooklyn Made world and to be able to support Brooklyn makers in a way beyond what I was able to do with my store because of the access to resources that the Chamber of Commerce has in business support, business development.
So guys, what are the products that we feature?
Oh my goodness.
What categories?
Categories are apparel, accessories, jewelry, food, housewares, artwork. We have a little bit of everything. Beauty products. We have
pet products.
Pet products, yes. We have dog toys, we have dog treats, we have a cat toy now. And it just goes to show just how much talent and entrepreneurship is happening here in Brooklyn. And it's also important to note that the products that we sell in the store, that we're promoting in our store, are made by people who are based here in Brooklyn. It does not mean that the products are made in Brooklyn because unfortunately we are no longer the manufacturing hub of the country or of the city. And so
not everything can be made in Brooklyn, but the maker
is based here. I like to say we're not mining for gold. So the gold necklace that you buy in our store was not sourced here, but it was designed and created by a Brooklyn maker.
Great. Well, we got a lot more to talk about in terms of the Brooklyn Made Store. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the makers themselves. We're going to talk a little bit about our experience as the Chamber of Commerce, delving into retail, which is a challenge to say the least, but it's been a fun challenge, I will say. We'll talk a little bit also about how this all came to be, because I think it's important we go into a little bit of the history of why the Chamber decided to undertake a retail store. But first, we're going to have another break. You are listening to the Triple B Report, Brooklyn Business Beat. I am Randy Piers. I'm President and CEO here at the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. And thank you for joining us. Once again, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Brooklyn Made when we come back. Thank you.
I used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dancehall. Don't stall, better get tuned in to the tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't Tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. Mr. Latest in Caribbean news? Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too? Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. Mr. Latest in Caribbean news? Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too? Tempo.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kinds of countries coming together in new dishes. All of us came from somewhere, but all of we call this home. The VI is the new melting pot. This is where the past and the future comes together.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel, our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, RTV.network.
Welcome back to the Triple B Report, the Brooklyn Business Beat. I'm Randy Piers from the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and we're speaking with Guy DeLoretto, who is the Executive Director of the Brooklyn Made Stores here in Brooklyn. Let's talk makers, let's talk products. What do we got?
Well, I brought some examples of some of the amazing Brooklyn made products that we celebrate in our store. First off, and as you can see behind you on the screen, Brooklyn Tea. She is an incredible maker. She has found some just great traction, not just with us, but also around the city and across the country. She is just incredibly thoughtful and creative in how she's packaging and presenting her products. Her name is Jamila. She is just one of our favorite vendors. And I want to speak to as well the food makers that we have. Brooklyn historically, and I mean before World War II, was actually the breadbasket for New York City. And so I think it's really special to be able to celebrate the food makers that are still here trying to make it work, by especially bringing some of their own products from their own cultures to commerce. Of course, everyone wants a piece of Brooklyn, so we have a lot of products that have some kind of Brooklyn on it. This is from a company called MapTote. They specialize in creating map type products on everything from t-shirts and tote bags to housewares. And they don't just focus on Brooklyn. They actually focus, you can get a map tote from almost any major city, even some smaller cities too. Anything that has Brooklyn on it is not just popular among tourists, it's popular among people who live in Brooklyn.
Well, Brooklyn's become an international brand.
International brand that starts with the pride that people who live in Brooklyn have for our borough. And it's something that's very special and very unique and very different than what you find in other boroughs. And it's what makes our ability to have this store possible. I don't know that you would be able to have the same kind of level of success with a borough-centric store outside of Brooklyn. But that's also why the Chamber decided to embark on this endeavor of having a center of commerce specifically for retail Brooklyn makers. Another product that we have that we love to celebrate is the Food Brave social backpacks, social justice backpacks. And this is one of our first makers, one of our first featured makers. And it's the back to school season, so everyone should stock up on their social justice backpack. So yeah, I mean those are some of the products that we sell. We also like to support and promote our own brand, the Chamber logo, which is this B logo with the iconic Brooklyn Bridge icon, and we have this in the sweatshirt. We have hoodies, we have t-shirts, we have pins, we have tote bags. Again, the pride of Brooklyn.
We have books. Tell us about some of the books, guys.
So our Brooklyn books span from children's books about how Shirley Chisholm, about her history of her past with becoming active in politics, all the way through to the history of Canarsie. Photo books that give you that history of Brooklyn. And we even have a book from the CNN correspondent,
Bill
Weir, thank you, on the climate change. And so we love to
Bill lives in Brooklyn.
He lives in Brooklyn. He's a Brooklyn guy. He wrote a book about how we need to make changes to save our planet because of climate change. So our products promote and support a wide range of makers, creatives. Like I said, we have jewelry, we have soaps and candles, we have all kinds of amazing products, and the tie that binds them all together is that they're all made and created by Brooklyn.
Tell us about the corner gallery. How do we support the arts?
So art is an important part of, I think, of society and culture. It's what is it is an integral piece of who we are as people. And art, so in both of our stores, we have what's called the corner gallery. And we have the rotating exhibits where we promote and support local Brooklyn artists. And the art can span the gamut. Street photography, fine art, it can be ceramics, it can be collages. We have a show coming up that features an artist collective. One of the artists started as a graffiti artist when he was a teenager, roaming the streets of Brooklyn. So
graffiti artists in Brooklyn? Do tell.
So we are really excited to support, promote, and help some of those artists also figure out how to monetize and their art in a way that maybe someone can't afford to buy a piece, an original piece, but we can help them create products that are more accessible. So post a smaller print or a postcard or a mug that features their art. So we like to work with not just with our artists, but with all of our makers and helping them create successful paths for economic success.
So guys, these are small makers, these are independent makers. Are these makers that maybe for the first time have put product on the shelf?
Quite a number of our makers have never sold product in a retail store before. Maybe they've done pop-ups, maybe they've sold on Etsy, but they've never actually sold into a retail store. And we work with people. We understand that it can be overwhelming and intimidating, and so we help guide people through the process of how to create a wholesale line sheet, how to price their products so that they make some money and we can make some money and the customer is still happy and not feeling like they're spending more than they think they should. So we are here to be supportive and help people grow. We also connect our makers with other resources because of the fact that we are a Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. And so the Small Business Resource Network is an important piece for the tool that we can direct people to. We have the Brooklyn Alliance, which some of our makers may be able to tap into for some funding. We have incredible relationships with other nonprofit partners who offer lots of different types of training and resource programs that can help makers really establish strong and sustainable businesses and grow.
So BrooklynMadeStore.com, right? That's the e-commerce site.
BrooklynMadeStore.com. You can also find us on Instagram if you want to see what we're up to on a regular basis. We do a lot of, we have our 2 stores and our e-commerce, we are also active out in the streets, as I like to say, and we do different events. We do pop-up events. We're going to be at AfroCon. We are going to participate in the New York City Wine and Food Festival with the Food Network. And we host our own events too. Yes, and we host our own events. We host in-store events. We host Meet the Maker. You can actually meet the person who made the hot sauce that you're putting on your eggs every morning. That is part of what we're doing, is we're connecting consumers to the makers to really help people understand that it's not just an anonymous person behind the scenes. There are real people who, when you spend your money, it's impacting their pockets and their dollars and helping them keep a roof over their heads and put their kids to college.
We've got a big fashion show coming up in October too.
It's our 2nd annual fashion show coming up on October 15th. We're really excited. There will be our Brooklyn Made section, and then we also work with 2 other leaders in fashion who will have their own shows, Rick Davey and Kat Schuler, and we make it an accessible show, so we do an open call for casting for models, and you don't have to be a model to be selected for casting.
So I have hope.
Well, I mean, I think you did model something last year. So it is, like I said, anyone can do it. But that's part of our point, and I think part of the what makes us so rewarding is that it is fun, right? This is about sharing the joy and the passion that makers have for what they can create, what they can bring to market, and helping really amplify and expand that and spread it across the world. Because that is what the motto is: spread love. It's the Brooklyn way, and that's what we're doing with the Brooklyn Made stores.
We also want to tap into the Brooklyn diaspora, right? I call it the Brooklyn diaspora because there are literally millions of folks that grew up in Brooklyn or spent some significant time in Brooklyn. And they miss it. They miss home. They miss the people. They miss the culture. They miss the the food, and now they could kind of tap back into that memory. So Guy, thank you for the work that you're doing on the team at the Brooklyn Made Stores. Once again, it's brooklynmadestores.com. You can go online, you can shop online. We'd rather see you in person. Come visit us here at Industry City in Sunset Park or downtown Brooklyn at City Point. The stores are gorgeous. The people that work the stores are amazing. And once again, every product you buy is really helping a maker or a designer, and it's furthering the Brooklyn economy. And that's what it's all about. We are the creative center of New York City. That creativity is on full display at the Brooklyn Made Stores. I'm going to just end by saying the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, we are the largest chamber of commerce in New York State. Everything from promotion, support, advocacy, convening, that's our mission, that's our mandate. We just happen to do it in the greatest place on earth, here in Brooklyn, New York. And it's my pleasure to be able to bring you a little glimpse of our hometown here each week when we host the Triple B Report. Brooklyn Business Beat. I'm not sure it's going to be every week, but periodically. And it really is an honor and a privilege for me to be able to present to you what's going on here in Brooklyn with the business community, with our economy. And wherever you're from, Brooklyn is home to everybody. If you visit, if you live here for a little bit, if you go to school here, Brooklyn never leaves your system. So thank you for having us. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to Gaia Di Loretto, Brooklyn Made Stores, May O, our Workforce Development Manager at Brooklyn Economic Snapshot. Once again, hope to see you next time here on the Triple B Report, Brooklyn Business Beat.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.